Good evening, everyone. Today, the focus of the class is coming to bringing our minds to Khanika, Marana. In this body, with the 32 parts of the body, the many rupas exist. These rupas exist operating in different capacities depending on which part of the world you are interacting with. As we let go of the past and the future, we let go of all of those identities and experience a sense of a sammati marana in the simple cutting off of these memories in our present, these views in our present, these perceptions in our present. And we bring ourselves into a position where we go into a deeper depth, cutting through the stories, coming in from the sammuti onto the present moment, where everything is on a bounce of arising, processing, and passing away. As we go into the meditation now, all of the things and encumbrances, thoughts that could come into one's mind with regards to responsibilities and duties done, or things that are yet to be done, or things that you are never considering to be done as well. All of these levels of identity we let go of with the past and the future and come into the present, where at this present moment, the person who is seen as Nama and Rupa. This Nama and Rupa, we must keep in mind to only be with the Nama and the Rupa that is of the present. How do we know this? Mano pubbhanga madhamma manosetta manomaya. The mind is how you know it. When the mind experiences a Vedana, experiences the body in which there is a Vedana, in knowing the Vedana, we realize that part or that khand, that khand. The moment aggregate, the moment that we choose to let go, watching the arising and ceasing, we learn how to let go of the identity that we post with it, where now the aggregate doesn't build. So the more that you let go, the lesser the sankhara, the lesser the aggregate, the khandas that are operating, through which we see with clarity that just as the breath arises and ceases, the Vedana arises and ceases, arises and ceases, arises and ceases, we come to experience the mind. At every moment of these, we experience Khanika Marana. Khanika Marana. At every moment, when we bring ourselves into Khanika Marana, momentary death occurs to all the skandhas across the board. Across the board. Now, when we do look at this as a Khanika Marana, we look at the destruction that occurs at the end and the beginning, the Upada and the Bhanga. Putting ourselves into the fact of the moment is the only position that we can truly observe this process. So I want to reiterate on the fact, emphasize on the fact of the moment. all of the sankharas that you have, all of the agitation that you have, the bodily pains that you might have, the thoughts that you might arise, are all part of the skandha. The more that you feed the skandha, how do you feed the skandha? By giving into this illusionary thought that this is yours. When you let go of that thought that this is mine, what you see is the arising and ceasing of the aggregate that occurs. So whatever that you have done before this point, let us let go of and come fully into the present moment here and now. And with a sense of devotion and conviction towards the practice, Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Kaena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang acchayang kame me bhante bhuri panye tathagate. Kahine vacha chittene pamadene maya katang acchayang kame me dhamme sandittika akalika. Kaine vacha chittene pamadene maya katang acchayang kamami sangha supatipanne anuttere. Let us come into a meditating position with our senses calm, trotting to a relaxation, steadiness, balance of the mind and body. Letting go of the world external, coming into the world internal. Using a sensation felt across the body to guide your attention closer towards the present. Gently, gently. Watching the rising and ceasing of the body through the sensation, the vibrations that are felt at the soles of the feet, the thighs, the buttocks against the cushion or chair. the lower part of the back, touching again to support, if any, the shoulders, stiff, relaxing, coming into a position of balance. Right here, right now. Balance. Letting go of expectation. Letting go of needs and wants. Knowing the Dhamma. Knowing that this is nature. And as you observe, you will see nature. Gently. As you guide your attention through these experiences into the present. Through the sensation, guide your attention towards the most subtler object, the breath. The breath rising, ceasing. With every rising and ceasing, let us let go of something. Let us, for this time of practice, completely and entirely be with the practice. Give ourselves over to the practice. In the hands of Dhamma, as realized by the Buddha. Taught and practiced, achieved by the Arhat Sangha. In giving over this mind and body with trust over to the Dhamma. Let us for this time give up on our identity, our belief systems, our culture, heritage, our story. Let us rid this moment of all connected to convention, to all storytelling. As you do, experience the lightness that arises in the moment. When view Sakaya Ditti is no more. The lightness of the present cannot be compared to anything that a mundane being would experience. The lightness of the body and mind when our lives are rid of ditti, view, wrong view, when the mind is free of the view of self, the delusion that self is real is no more. We stop expecting the world to gravitate around us. The expectations we hold of the world abundantly disappear. Because the mind is radiantly clear to who sees this insight. That within the present moment exists the Paramatta Dhamma, Chitta, Chetasika, Rupa. Within this present is where we see the ultimate truth of reality. That it is not the story that we tell and believe. The engine, the core, the root is only visible in the present. Within this present moment, as you observe the breath, be with this breath. Be entirely with this breath. Require nothing else but to observe the breath. Expecting nothing but seeing reality for what it is, beyond the storytelling, beyond self-rooted views. with clarity of mind. Guide your attention to the breath, the gross breath relaxing, the subtle breath, the long, the short, for whatever it might be. Observe, observe. The breath is a sign of life, a sign of Jivitindriya, just like radiance is a sign of Jivitindriya for the deities. When their radiance disappears, starts fading away, it is time to pass. When the breath is no more, one comes to pass from this body, arising and ceasing through a lifetime. As we let go of all view, we let go of our adherence to those views and come to see a deeper depth of truth, the reality of samsara, the truth of life, impermanent, suffering, non-self. Let us now let go of control. any urge to control the present, guided entirely by the Dhamma. To let go of control, we must first acknowledge the control we exercise and open our mind to the reality of Tanha in the present moment. Greed can arise in different ways. The truth of Nirvana, Nirodha Satya, is beyond all of these worlds. It is beyond all convention. Buddha Putra walk this path. Guided by the Dhamma, accepting Dhamma as reality, allowing discernment, wisdom to guide our way. Observing the moment, the experience, genuinely, authentically, understanding this is nature. It will arise and see, knowing, seeing, as you let go, the breath becoming more and more subtle. Gently, slowly, relaxing into a fine and profoundly calm state of peaceful abiding. The present, the sankharas in this present, in the present there can be only one object. Knowing Let us observe the breath, the fine, the subtle breath. As you observe, you might experience vibration, the breath too becoming a vibration. As you observe closely, all else coming to pass, a great sense of stillness, and moment to moment vibration, numbing, arising and ceasing. Sukha dukkha upekkha, pleasant, unpleasant, equanimous. Observe as they are. Observing, observing, gently. This too arises and ceases without attachment. Observe, unscathed by any experience, knowing Dhamma with Dhamma, see Dhamma. Gently, gently, Gently. As you observe the sensation, the vibration, Vedana, as you observe without attachment, the mind stable with the Dhamma, knowing and seeing, gently, as you let go of the Vedana, whilst observing the present. Come to realize that even without Vedana, when you put Vedana aside, there are other Khanda guiding your attention towards the mind. Letting go of control, with trust in the Dhamma. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Gently, gently, gently. Observing the mind, mind watching mind, arising, ceasing, letting go, letting go, letting go. Letting go, letting go, letting go. letting go, letting go, letting go. The more that we trust in the Dhamma, the more uncertainty has no cause of suffering in our life. We know and see that uncertainty is more wherever there are sankhara. All the prajnapti arises caused by the different experiences taken by attachment at some point through the mind. All the world that we see is a reflection of these Dhammas, a manifestation an erroneous perception far from the truth. Observe in the mind. To see the mind as kusala, akusala, wholesome, unwholesome. Whether it be a karma or a resultant vipaka, only discern, no view, only discern. Only see the real reality. Do not imagine. Let go. Let go. Let go. Gently observe the mind. Kusala, akusala. Observe the mind. Isk, if kusala and akusala is unfamiliar, then observe the roots: greed, hatred, delusion, non greed, non hatred, non delusion. Tribute the mind with the root. So, not giving in to the story, letting go of the story by being observing the mind for which root they are. Mano Bubbangama Dhamma. The mind is the forerunner of all things. Observe, observe, observe. Letting go of all other bases and simply observe the heartbeats, the mind. This is your focus. Arising, ceasing, very fast, very fast. If an object seems to last longer, then you know you are clinging. The mind. Observe the mind. Observe the mind like an external object. See the arising and passing. The blank experiences being the Bhavanga. The mind arises for 17 mind movements, falls into Bhavanga and arises again with another object, taking another object. Observe this impermanence. with non-self, knowing, seeing, knowing, seeing, Father, Titi, Banga, arising, processing, seizing, arising, processing, seizing, rid your mind of thought, only observe the mind, arising, processing, seizing. Let go of all else. The mind is a Dhamma. Observe the Chitta Chetasika that arise moment to moment are phenomena. Through this mind flows Jivitindriya, the life faculty. With the life faculty rises all else. Supported by past karma, this life faculty arises and ceases in a continuous cycle of cognizing, taking object, creating world, sankhara. This mind is conditioned by all the object it takes, for good or worse. Change is constant. So the mind morphs and changes with condition, moment to moment, ceasing and ceasing, depending on the object it cognizes, and the mind state when cognizing, contact, mind taking mind or mind object, mind taking five sense to object. As we have let go of five sense to object, now we only take Dhamma Ramana, and within Dhamma Ramana, only Chitta Chaitasika, mind, Chitta Chaitasika, Dhammata, all experiences of mind that have passed are taken as object. When a prajnapti is taken as object, mind object that has passed. Hence, prajnapti is not really existing. A charade, a hallucination, a hoax. Arising, ceasing, arising, ceasing, arising, ceasing, no me, no mine, no me, no mine, no me, no mine, nothing lost, nothing gained, selfless, selfless, self, the more self, the more delusion, the more suffering. Not because a self is punished, but because of causes and conditions that the sankharas become. No me, no mine. Observe the mind, dhammata, nature of this consciousness, mental factor, gently, 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 anchoring with wisdom towards the Samvati world, with abundance of acceptance for Dhammata, nature, cause and effect, understanding, to whichever degree the lack of self, selflessness, anatma, let us accept all what is, but upon seeing the Dhamma in reality, let our hearts be touched by this essence. May this truth echo through every moment that life is spent. When dealing, when being in pleasant and unpleasant experiences. The moment that we choose not to cling, but to be in the present with Dhamma, echoing through the mind and body in everything that we do. We come to be our fullest self, whole. Finally, we become complete in the essence, in the present, where the Dhamma flourishes. The reality of this present becomes more and more apparent. Inspired by this truth, let us let go of anger. Let us let go of covetousness. Let us let go of agitation. Let us let go in seeing the senses, the sense pleasures as our ultimate goal. Just as a lotus rises from the mud, let us rise from this frantic world so and bloom with wisdom, inspiring to ourselves and those around us. Praised by being, known and unknown. Praised by the divine and humans alike. Let us embrace uncertainty through knowing that cause and effect is all that is at play. The best we can do is being with Kusala, Sati, with the vision and light of Dhamma. May every breath we take with every pump of my heart, with every step that I walk, may my life be for the attainment of the unconditioned. May I realize truest non-self and come to experience true freedom, the breaking of bonds to suffering. With this as your goal, let us forgive all who have trespassed against us. Let us forgive the murderers who've killed us. In our past, in our present, and future, based on Dhamma, being in Dhamma, living and breathing Dhamma, with Dhamma as our only goal. May all beings be well and happy. May all wrongs be forgiven. May all beings be well and happy. May wisdom prevail. With compassion and understanding. May all beings be well and happy. With a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to taste the Dhamma, the mind, the body. Grateful for every breath that we breathe, an exhaustion of karma, but an opportunity for enlightenment. The body will arise and see friends, family, the world will arise and see. The mind will shapeshift from existence to existence. But as we let go, the potential for enlightenment occurs with profound stillness, guiding your attention to the samadhi with awareness, to the sound, five sense too. And when you are ready, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, everyone. Hmm. Well, I don't know what to say after that. So, in the meditation that we followed, the Dhamma that we look at or base our practice upon, and the more that we meditate in stillness, in calm, the, the more the essence of understanding of into reality arises in our hearts. And by heart, I mean the heart base, which is the mind. This mind is the forerunner of all things. So the way that you look at the physical world determines the way that you perceive the physical world. If you look at something with a sense of distaste or ayonso yonso mansikara, we know that the way that we perceive this world changes. Whilst we base ourselves with this practice, we must realize that these words that we read 5, 6 times a week, and maybe even more during our personal time, we are reading words, we are reading, learning ways of thinking, views. Whether it is right or wrong, we realize that the Dhamma points us towards the fact that these are, at the end of the day, all views. All views. The wrong views are very harmful, whilst the right views can lead to an easing of mind and body and state and environment. All your conditionality, that you are experiencing at this moment is a direct result of those things, those energies, those sankharas that are now paved in your way. So, when we understand this reality more and more, you realize the only thing that actually matters is this present moment. In this present moment, whilst we observe this present, whether it be the breath of the present, or the Vedana of the present, or the body of the present, or the 32 parts of the body, or the dhatus, or any other meditation, or maybe whilst you're even just sitting and having a cup of tea, and as you're sipping and experiencing this experience, you realize that all of these things arise and cease. When it arises with a certain view. If it arises, a certain perception, a sanya. This perception keeps us grounded upon a certain level of life, right? Now, of course, we are not saying that this system is bad, but the system is by nature flawed, because who are we to say whether it's good or bad? Do you understand? If we are saying that something is bad, then there is a preference. If there is a preference, someone can have a preference. No one cannot have a preference. Do you understand? Someone can have a preference. But if it's no one, then there can't be a preference. So the preference of good and bad comes into association when there is an amount of control. When there is an amount of control. Now, when we go into these states of awareness over things that are so subtle in nature, the way that we get there is very important, because we should not ever try to imagine, and we must always check ourselves also, especially when you're dealing with guided meditations, that you're not imagining things, because it can really lead a meditator down the wrong path. And they might become so fixated upon what they believe to be true that they might now not believe anything else, even if it is said in the Dhamma. So we check these views, These are all views. Views create a certain Sinhalin kiwa adagatiyak. There is a certain sense of tightness, roughness, harshness. When it comes to a view, you might have recognized that already. When you're trying to enforce a way of thought or a pattern on the breath, on a sensation, on a thought, on a vibration, on any experience, when the mind is calm and subtle, you might have noticed how, when there is a view that arises, when you're trying to enforce something, tell it how it is, right? When you're trying to tell it how it is, there is a tightness, a ralu gatiyak තියෙනවා එතන. That heaviness that arises in that moment arises because of that foreign element. What is that foreign element? That view. A foreign element to what? Reality. So we recognize this, right? And we never take, now for example, everyone, I may not be able to speak in this manner if I am talking to people who are not here for a meditation, right? For a vipassana meditation, or people, if it is, let us say, gedare dana, if it is a dana, right? We don't talk about these things because there is very, first of all, there are people who will not be able to understand, but also misunderstandings can occur. Hari, I am not speaking because I know that this sometimes, gets you thinking, what did Bante say? Who did Bante say that to? When we are in this space, which is Sunday 2 to 5 or whatever it is, we are in a space of meditators, right? And when we are in a space of meditators, we are not talking to addressing people as people of the Samuti world. During this class, we are all equal, right? We are equal on the grounds of the fact that we are all Chitta Chaitasika Rupa and we have the potential for Nibbana and we are doing something to progress day by day. But remember, our friendship, our Kalyana Mitrata will only equate to one another and support one another as long as we are in the path. The moment that we go off the path, that is, not when you make mistakes, not when we make mistakes, but it is the time where you choose to let that win over the Dhammata. We must never allow negativity. As long as we are not enlightened, negativity will arise. Just so in the meditation practice, we see that negativity that could arise. That negativity at one point. Now, under Dhammanusati practice, that negativity becomes the object. When you're looking at, let us say, when you're directly looking at a kilesha, a hindrance, and observing the upada titibanga, the arising, processing, and ceasing of an hindrance, what other thing are you observing? You're observing a kilesha, but at this Dhammanusati level, you're not observing the prajnapti, which is different. When the prajnapti is not present, then there is no personal attribute of that hindrance. Do you understand? That is why the person who sees the prajnapti does not see the ultimate reality. So we here today, especially this specific class, which is such a lovely class, where we really go into wonderful experiences, this class, this session is a time of letting go of the past, the future, coming into the present, and take every word in a sense of the Paramattha, not in the Prajnapti. Because in the Prajnapti is shallow. These are stories. These are just demarcations of view, beliefs. A story that I might say as a positive, right, could be interpreted in another way as a negative connotation, isn't it? These are all stories. We go beyond those stories and see the good and the bad and realize good and bad is also demarcation written through self. In letting go, learning to practice upon that, I want to hear your thoughts about the specific part, the earlier parts, and then also the parts about letting go of control, which I think letting go of control, which cannot be an easy thing for everyone, right? But remember, the letting go of control occurs when we are stable upon the Dhamma. That is the only way that you can let go of control. Knowing Dhamma is nature, and nature is impermanent. So when the state of the present is wholly negative, let us say you are meditating on, or you have now come to see, let us say, lust, because it is a very arousing thing, isn't it? Lust, it is what it's meant to do. And when you're observing this and you're getting all of this, imagine of it as a sewage hole that is sort of overflowing, right? Bubbling out, right? Gushing out a sewage hole. And this is the way that in Dhammanusati you start seeing it. You don't see the lust, the dance, the seduction. You don't see any of that in Dhammanusati. That is all gone because remember why? That is the, what is the magic word? The prajnapti. The prajnapti, right? All of that, all of those hallucinations, right? With men, with women, with whatever animals do, whatever this, whatever organism, all of those stories, when you're at the level of Dhamma Rammana, taking of Dhamma object, which are Chitta, Chetasika, Rupa, Nibbana, Prajnapti, isn't it? Prajnapti. Now, in the initial stages, this is how we let go of the Prajnapti, right? Because now you think, for example, we might very easily imagine discernment as vitaka, for example, right? Now, discernment, when you know discernment to be what discernment is not particularly vitaka, which is the taking of object. The taking of object and discernment is different, especially when you're observing the mind, everyone. These are positions where these attributes, these very sort of particular attributes become very important. If you're observing discernment, wisdom, like vitaka, which is initial application, you will obviously not go too far. You will only be able to see what? You will only be able to see predominantly the arising of an object. හරි. The arising of an object. මේක හොඳට අහගන්න. The arising of an object. When you see the arising of an object simultaneously, that is a sign. හරි. Simultaneously, you only see the arising of an object. ඔතකොට, that is a sign to say you're looking at vitaka a little bit. Right? See whether this is discernment or vitaka. When it comes to discernment, right? When it comes to discernment is prajna aloka. Prajna aloka. That is how the sutras relate it. Remember, in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, right? The light of wisdom. The light of wisdom, it does not do, it sees. Do you understand? Now, vitaka does. Hari, vitaka does. What does it do? It takes an object. In prajna discerns an object. Do you understand? This might be the time that you would also like to ask questions. If you're not, if you're having any doubts. Discerning the object is more acquainted with clarity. When you're observing the mind to get into a position where the mind can be isolated in its nature and where we can exercise sati upon this function, not with initial application, because remember, initial application takes the object, right? Initial application takes the object. Oh, yes, you cannot unmute. Yes, I took that permission away during the meditation. So now you can unmute if you like. Takes the object. Whilst discernment, when discernment is present, discernment would have stillness with the sati, And when discernment is present, remember that discernment is going to be present with three roots. Wherever discernment is present, now you will see Abhidhamma, how useful it is so that we can communicate at this level. Without this level, the point is not made. The point is not made. The words cannot express, the Vohara Sammuti would not allow us to express what exact level we are at. Now we are talking at the level of Arammana. Arammana has 6 types of object, the last of which is Dhammarammana. Dhammarammana, 6. Chitta, Chaitasika, Rupa, Nibbana, 5. Prajnapti are all can be Dhammarammana. When you take a story as a mental object, right? Oh, she did this to me. That's a Dhammarammana, right? I should go out to the park today. That is, that is a Prajnapti, right? That is a she did this to me. That's a Prajnapti. The story is a Prajnapti. As long, and that is a wonderful indicator, don't you think, for us to know, wonderful indicator to show us the Sammuti and when we are at the Khanika level. At the Khanika level. Shiroma, you want to say something? Something.
Bante, I just, this question arose. So the vitaka has to arise first at the 6 sense bases as well as the mind base. So as a mind object as well. So the vitaka has to arise first, and then discernment as a causal effect. Is that right? Vitaka, and then also maybe vichara, if you don't get it at vitaka, goes to vichara, then discernment.
Okay, so the first part, Shiroma, thank you for the question. That is a question that I was waiting for, which is when you see, now initially, api bhavana karnata, when we meditate, we see the arising first. Everyone will see this arising. Some people see the dissolution. Some people see the dissolution. Most people see the arising. The arising. This will happen. So now, Shiroma, you see Vitaka first.
Yes.
Then the meditator balances to see the discernment through that Vitaka.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so the easiest to track is the Vitaka because it is so gross. You see it it is a Sabbhachitta Sadharana, which means it is repetitive. It
Yes.
repeats in every chitta. So every chitta you will be able to see a taking of object. Vitaka, that is why Vitaka is so easy to see. Right? It is the first out of 5 jhana elements that you see. The first, Vitaka.
At that vitaka level, at the very start of the vitaka level,
Then upon seeing the Vitaka, now we know it is with the Vitaka that Prajna arises. Right? Vitaka and Prajna, they will be there. But to track this, to see this, you know this, but to see this, how do you experience or go through it? First, the meditator will see the object through Vitaka itself, because Anapanasati, Vedananupasana, Chittanupasana, Dhammanupasana, the Vitaka is there, taking of object, right? Taking of object. However, Dhyane Harahayanamana. If you're going with the jhana, then it becomes far more easier. Why? You can isolate the vitaka. Then,
yes.
when the jhana is present, you know how to isolate the vitaka, right? Especially if you've gone beyond the first jhana, you very well are very good at it. In isolating the vitaka කෙලින්ම ගිහිල්ලා ඒ සමාධි ට්‍රේනින් එක තියෙන හින්දාම කෙලින්ම ගිහිල්ලා වැටෙන්නේ අර discernment එකේ. Discernment එකේ. මොකද ධානයේ තියෙන ශක්තිය හින්දා මනසේ තියෙන ප්‍රභාස්වර ගතිය, the mind's lustrous nature of the three rooter. This is not a form. This is not varna. This is not varna rupa. This is all experience. All experience, not as a rupa. All experience, the insight that unfolds, the nature of the mind becomes lustrous at that moment. ඒකෙම තමයි දන්නේ at that moment, come what may, you are very stable. What are you stable upon? Knowing, seeing, anicca, dukkha, anatta. When the hindrances come, if the meditator has very good trust in the practice, that forms a basis for this. If a meditator has quite good virya, that forms a basis to tackle whatever arises. If a person has very good, what is it? Prajna, that becomes a foundation to tackle the hindrances that come. All right. Shiroma, you wanted to say something?
I think that explained that next question.
Mm.
But at that vitaka level,
Mm.
if somebody, if like a very, very, very experienced yogi catches at the vitaka level and that prajna like falls on it and sees the causal phenomena of it, would there be because at the vitaka level, the object has already arisen, at that point, would there be any defilements coming until that little space
No.
before?
Now, when the object is taken, Shiroma, the object Abhidhamma basics,
Yeah,
the object is first touched by Vitaka,
yes,
right? No
yeah.
one else touches the object first. It is Vitaka. හරි.
Yeah,
අර විතක්කේ අල්ලපු ගමම්ම එතන දැනෙන දේ විචාරය.
vichara, yes.
එතන දැනෙනම දේ විචාරය.
Mm-hmm.
හරි.
Mm.
එතකොට it is like අර මේ කූඩැල්ලෙක් වගේ. Right? It is like when it takes a skin, then it clings, then let goes. The moment that it takes, it let goes. Now it is vichar.
Mm-hmm.
That moment itself is vichar. Hare. But what do you mean by the vitaka level?
Before it proliferates to vichara.
Okay. Before,
When it when it goes to vichara, now it's become like a sustained attention. My question is, would there be any defilements working even at that level?
yes.
Loba motivation.
මොකද that defilement would be in this condition phenomena itself.
If
Arise. The cause for this arising
yeah,
always attributes to avijja and tanha. Right?
but if
Now,
one sees that, if one sees through the causes of rupa and nama, interdependent on each other, and then sees that causal as the vitaka rise. I mean, this is like I'm talking about arahat mind or an anagami mind.
exactly. Exactly. So you have to take it in those levels. Now, although one would be a sotapanna, we know that sotapannas can have lobha mula chittas arising without view, without wrong view, right?
Okay, yeah. Victim,
Sotapannas can have. So that instead would answer your question. So this, what I'm specifically relating to is when we bring the whole Arahata, Sotapanna, Sakurdagami, Anagami story, right? Again, Vohara Prajnapti. Of course, these Vohara Prajnaptis are relating to achievements and attainments. But the experience or the belief or the wanting relating to that Vohara Praඥapti in the present moment is disruptive to
Mm.
practice.
Yeah,
That's understandable.
yeah. But for communication's sake, we
Yeah,
need to use the
communication.
Vohara,
At
isn't
the
it?
at the moment of the present,
Yeah.
we let go entirely onto the Dhamma. ධර්මයේ නැතුව you will try to let go, but often it will go and get stuck somewhere else that, that might be unfavorable to you, right? Because it will go and get stuck in some hindrance of yours, or because you can't let go. That is not ඒක මේ ජීවිතයේ මේ um, apart from, developing into a negative state, අර කුසල පැත්තෙන් අපිට මේ ප්‍රඥාප්තියත් තුල අපි දන්න දේ තමයි ධාන ටික. ඊට වඩා යන්න බෑ. And we know that the dhyanas take prajnapti as object, right? But beyond any level, beyond the jhanas, letting go of control. Remember, to attain jhana also you let go of control. We know that name, the samadhi bhavanawe. අපි කොච්චර
Mm. Mm.
අත්හරිනවද මේ බලය කියන දේ අපි කොච්චර අත්හරිනවද මේ අරමුණ කෙරෙහි. Towards the object we let go, isn't it, everyone? Right? Towards the object we let go. But vipassana deems you can then, I don't even have to say it. You can then imagine if the Buddha surpasses all of that final achievement, attainment, what that practice would entail, what kind of control or what level of control are we talking about here? You get what I mean at that point.
Yes.
How we acknowledge that, is our own practice. How we acknowledge that, right, is our own practice. Because I think we all, in our practice, that is what we do. We acknowledge, we begin to start to, but at those moments where in our life we put the Dhamma aside entirely to be with something else, um, that might be a little bit challenging for a long-term practice. මොකද අර කුණු නානවා හරි නැත්නම් මඩ ගොඩේ මඩ නාලා you soaked in the mud and then you come wash yourself and you're already jumping back into the mud.
බන්තේ ඒකට කියන්නේ හෝද මඩේ දානවා කියලා.
Yeah, but the thing is, දැන් හෝද මඩේ දානවා කියන කතාවට, so washing and then putting back into the mud, which is true. ඕකට අපි තව ටිකක් අපි ඒකට එකතු කරොත් මේ පැත්තෙන් හිතන්න, මේ මඩේ කොහොමත් අපි මේ පංචස්කන්ධයේ තියෙන තාක්කල් මේ මඩේ අපිට läගලා ඉන්න වෙනවා කියන එක. Right? We cannot suicide. Right? We cannot end it. We cannot do things like that, which can have very adverse, negative connotations and just karmas and unnecessary karmas that you don't want to be paying back, or rather going through exhausting, not paying back, going through exhausting. Right? So these are unnecessary sankhara. The only position or within the practice inspire, take comfort and embrace that sense of uncertainty, because really, if life hasn't taught us how uncertain things are, hasn't life in every challenging corner been a teaching about control in a way? How much we are able to control, and how at the end of the day things that happen must happen and will happen regardless of whether you give it your green light or red light. That acceptance, that deep, full, all-encompassing acceptance in the present. මේ වෙලාවේ අර අත්හැරගන්න බැරිව නැත්නම් අමාරුවෙන් අර ලිංග වෙවි තිබ්බ those lingering nuances, because it's very subtle, nuances of mind which kept you holding on, also disappear. Because sometimes, think about, okay, forgiveness. If we are thinking about everyone that we must forgive, right? And if we have, done the whole thing, done the whole job, and all of that, you would have so many negative and positive experiences. If you are going to think about one and the other and all of that, of course, there are things that we have to think about that because they're so big, right? They're so sort of, we can't sort of put down their value. So there are things that you have to independently and individually also think about. But if it is kind of like flogging a dead horse in a way, right? Flogging a dead horse, like then with the Dhamma, you get so much of strength to truly, really let go. But remember, you cannot let go of things, let us say responsibility, so easily as well, right? You cannot. You have to live in the samadhi world. මේ කතා කරන්නේ මේ අර වර්තමාන මොහොතේ භාවනාවේ කරන දේ ගැන, right? During this moment, the samadhi should not have any bearing on you. Be completely pious and devoted to the present, to reality. Do you understand? You might think, in the meditation, if you think like this, මෙතන අත්තරියට අතන අත්තරින්නේ නෑනේ. කමක් නෑ. ඕකෙන් නම් ඉස්සරහට යන්න බෑ. You can't. If you're approaching it like that, then you're setting yourself, because ඒක බොරුවක්. Because it's a lie. You can't fool yourself. You have to understand, right? And not, you should not just accept it because it's told. But the Dhamma is here. Open your eyes and look. Look and see that however much you might say that I love this person and love that person and all of this, what you're doing is you're loving yourself. You're loving yourself, your comfort. If the little one who's coming at you ආච්චි කියාගෙන මේ සීයා කියාගෙන ඇවිල්ලා බදාගන්නේ ඒ ළමයාට තියෙන ඒ ආදරය ගැන ඇත්තටම හිතලා බලන්න. ම්? ඒ ළමයාට ආදරය කරන්නේ because there is me. Me. Only because that child is yours. That is what your sanya is telling you. ඉතින් ඔය සංඥාව ළමෙක්ට ආදරය කරන්න පුළුවන්. දරුවෙක්ට ආදරය කරන්න පුළුවන්. You can love a child, you can love someone, but that sanya is a lie. If you're doing it, and if you're in the Dhamma, do it properly. Don't lie to yourself. Do it properly. And how do we do it properly? Well, that you will have to realize in your practice. That is commitment. That is commitment. The Dhamma that we are giving or talking about Monday, Dhamma Sangani, right? Dhamma Sangani. And you can see in these meditations how useful they are becoming, isn't it? When I'm telling you Dhamma Ramana has 6, you exactly know what I'm talking about, right? The Thursday classes with the Abhidhamma, all of these Dhammas, what they are telling you is the fact that that is the Sammati, this is the Paramattha. The understanding of Buddhism, it's very difficult to gauge the depth of the Buddha's teachings if one does not accept karma. Right. So we know that when we live in the West, we whitewash so many things to kind of suit the Western world. But really, Buddhism, because we are not trying to propagate or expand or anything, we find that in a truer sense, we don't push that too much. Right. So because our essence is on the grounds that me anatmaya, me anatmaya, and you're giving so much of time and energy into this part, So it is our duty to polish it up. Even the most expensive of stones and jewels, however much beautiful they might be, they need to be polished. However precious the material might be, it must be polished. Even a stone, when polished, looks better. But we don't have the time, nor we need to be polishing stones when we have become fortunate for whatever conditions that have unfolded in our life. Maybe it was pleasant, maybe it was so unpleasant, but whatever that has unfolded has brought you to experience, to taste, to drink at the wells of Dhamma. Because of that reason, අම්මලා තාත්තලා යාළුවෝ පවුල් රස්සාවල් වැඩ ඒ කරන ඒ සියල්ලම, because of this session today, those 60 years, 50 years might have been worth it. That suffering might have been worth it, because that conditioning brought us here, everyone. And this conditioning is only for this life. That is the nasty part of the story. But it also depends on how you look at it. So depending on the view, it changes. That is why we let go of the view. We let go of the view. Because depending on the view, it changes. So then if there is no view, it won't change. Correct? It won't change. So we let go of the view. How can we let go of the view? Sakkaya ditthi. Sakasanyāmen බලන එක අපි නතර කරනවා. We don't look at something, observe something, thinking, sakasanya, the perception of I. I don't look at a thing, perceiving it as mine, or me, or I. Do you understand? Right? Now, a person is in front of you, right? A person is in front of you, right? Now, Devika, you are a horrible person, Devika. You can't cook. You're horrible at cooking, Devika. I don't know how anyone eats your food. රිදෙනා නේද? පව් දේවිකා අව්වෙනවා මේ හැම දේටම කැමරා කොම් කරාගෙන ඉන්න හින්දා. Right? But-
You know I'm
and
good cook.
now that's the thing. Now see,
Yes.
that's exactly it.
Yes.
ඔතකොට එන්නේ ඒ ශබ්දේ, දැන් ඒ කටහඬ, ඒ ශබ්දේ, ඒ බෝහාර සන්නිය, that perception of sound is what? Now see, the perception of sound, Sakkaya Ditthiyat එක perception of sound. Now Devika, this is not only you, everyone else, right? Everyone else, අපි මේ ධර්මතාවයක් කතා කරන්නේ.
Yes, sir. I know that.
The perception of sound, ඔය කතාව මේ තව ඔක්කොමලාටම කිව්වත්, right? ඒ විදියටම හිත මෙව්වේ ඇයි සක්කාය දිට්ඨියේ අර අයෝනිසමනස්කාරයෙන් ඉන්න වෙලාවට. හරි, මොකද ඒක තමයි සක්කාය දිට්ඨිය. That is සක්කාය දිට්ඨිය. When you hear the sound, I'm saying Devika, blah blah blah, whatever you're hearing, what you're hearing is taken through perception of I, sakasanya.
Yes. Sir.
හරි, ඔතකොට දේවිකා කොහොමද ඔතකොට කරන්නේ කොහොමද? How do we do? මෙතන මම මේ කතා කරනවා. Now දේවිකා, listen to me like you're listening to an external person. Now whatever that I am saying, you are observing.
Yes.
Do you understand? That
Yes.
moment, now the sakasanya reduces. Now I can be rude to you.
Yes.
Now
Can be rude to me, but who I am.
that's the thing. Eka drushti, that is ditti.
Yeah, right. But I understand.
That is the difference. There you go. That is the difference. That also manifests in the meditation. Who I am, there is no I. භාවනාවේ අවස්ථාවෙත් I can do, there is no. But we do this, we use this technique, of course, at the level where we go beyond Vedananupassana into Chittanupassana. Into Chittanupassana. Where Chittanupassana and Dhammanupassana, we observe in this manner. When we are observing, if you are observing like I am observing, then you're not going to be able to do a mind observing mind. Because you will always go to the cognition, the vitakka, the heavier. Right? It is when that me aspect reduces, is suppressed. When you're operating with a higher dhamma, which is discernment, everyone, with discernment, and when you're not touched by the low filth of Sakkaya Ditthi, there you see mind watching mind. Right? Because the mind can hold its position there. Why? Because this position is not mine. You might have observed you were trying to do the mind watching mind, but the mind went to the object again and again. It went to the object. So, for example, mind Vedananupassana, right? Vedananupassana. We were doing Vedananupassana. So, observing the Vedana, mind watching mind. So, the mind is watching mind take object. But what we end up seeing is taking object. Taking object. To get to balance the mind upon mind watching, mind taking object, we have to have that sense of non-self there. Ara sakasanya. Sakasanya.
Yes.
Sakasanya. It is at the moment, everyone, when you let go of sakasanya, let go of sakasanya, this Sakkaya Ditthi, self-view, Sakkaya Ditthi, self-view, that lack of self-view gives you a depth of clarity over the present. Because you realize how much view and instigation, instilling, forcing of views we do. The views that we do. Okay. All right, everyone. තව ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද? Dil?
Yes, Bante.
Oh, Dil, කියන්න.
So, Bante, I was listening to you. So, you're talking the concepts, which is the Parnati, and the ultimate realities. Please correct me, Bante, when I said the wrong thing. I'm just trying to understanding it more with knowing than with analyzing with my brain. So you had the Pragnati, but you had the four ultimate realities, which are the Chitta, the Chaitasika, the Rupa, and the Nibbana. So what I'm understanding at the moment, like, so if you are looking at anything, or Vitaka, the initial Vitaka that we all look with the Pragnati, that we start because they're there. So what we are actually letting go, Bante, is that sakasanya, the I, me, mind, that this anatta lakkhana is keeping on telling me. And through that everything this is not there, naso, and all that thing, is that anatta dukkha, anicca dukkha anatta. So as soon as you stepped into the realm of Sakkaya Ditthi, I, me, and mind, or not realizing the anicca dukkha anatta, which is through that process in that whole thing, or as soon as you're in the past or in the future and not in that present moment, then actually, when you're not there, you're in this, what you call this, the pragnati or pannati. And if it is like a conceptual thought, then it's called pannati. And if it is a conventional mode of expression, then that is the vohara. But if you go beyond this, right, then that is to the ultimate the sabba or whatever they call it. Then these numbers, what you're calling, are the final irreducible components of our existence. So they are really ultimate existence. And you cannot break them anymore. And when you look from this, which is what Arahant people do, then you can't reduce it anymore. And that's what you're telling us, the difference with that. There is no I involved. So it's not me looking at with your mind or thing, because at the moment, the level that we are with this I, me, and mine, looking at the past, not realizing anicca, dukkha, anatta, where I am anyway, some others may not be, then obviously what you're looking at is it's a kind of sagatanya. So that's why you can't see it, because everything is, there's an I behind the love.
They are still, yes. When the prajnapti is taken as object, the mind is taken away from ultimate realities to now something which is conceptual.
Yes.
This conceptual Dhamma, the prajnapti, has no arising and it has no ceasing, because it is not something that actually exists.
Yes.
Because how can we say so? How can we say so? Now, for example, if we think back to, let us say, Aurudu, when we were smaller, when Archie Amma was making these sorts of, whatever it is, when you're thinking, jogging your memory back and going back to relive these memories, you're reliving a hallucination and you're vicariously living through memory. Memory is a quality of chitta, not a function, a quality, right? Quality. Tadalambana is the function that supports this quality of memory. This memory is what you're ravishing on, right? Ruminating upon this memory brings you happiness, brings you joy, brings you displeasure, depending on what and how you look at it. Now, that prajnapti, when the mind is there at that level, you're in a lie, you're in a fog. Because you're in a lie, because you're in a fog, you're not able to see the reality of things as they are, which is on or upon seeing chitta, chetasika, rupa, which is of the present moment. Which is of the present moment. The only way to travel upon this path is, as the Buddha has taught, the Satipatthana, which shows the Sila, the Sattva Vishuddhi, the Sila Samadhi Prajna development through Suddha Vipassana Jnanika or Dvanda or Samadhi Bhavana, in these ways. So the Satipatthana teaches us the path, how to observe, for example, the mind and balance such a position with samadhi where we are not. Now imagine, everyone, we are all sitting in front of a computer or a TV or maybe a hand phone, listening to the sound of my voice and what I've got to say, these teachings, and you're also seeing me over the screen doing and being whatever that I am. At this moment, the demarcation of this visual demarcation tells you what? This visual demarcation tells you that I am not with you. Right? That I am, for example, in the UK, Devika, you're in America, right? But in a certain sense, then yes, we come together often. We have times where we forget everything else and we are completely here. Yes, of course. But the demarcation is there between the screen. But let us imagine that you have me on a earpiece, right? And I am completely blind to, let us say we blindfold ourselves very well that there is no light coming in and we are connecting through the ear, now your perception will be different. Now your person, why? Because the the sight demarcation is not there, right? The sight demarcation is not there. Now we are connecting through sound. Sound does not have the same demarcation, right? Sound does not have the same demarcation. Yes, Devika? Oh,
I have a quick question. So, like, if we have seen you for so long, and
yeah.
then even if we don't see you visually, still your visual thing, and when you talk, that will appear, I think.
Well, I think, Devika,
Or continue.
if, for example, let us say when we went on retreat, right? And everyone, there was a big group who was, let us say, experiencing this on a daily basis, but face to face. Something that, for example, even Dilsiri and some of the others who were there, said was it's very different to being on Zoom, which is experiencing, which is absolutely there, Devika. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ perception එක එනවනේ, right? Perception comes, right? The
Yeah.
demarcation is there, the experience. Why? Because that is a sanya. However, if we are able to do this, isolate that and
Yes.
connect on the other part, right? Isolate that and connect on the other part. Those people would be the people who make the best out of this class. Which is
Yes.
which is completely me Amastavedi. We are completely here, completely together. ඔතකොට අර
Interest.
අපේ ධර්මයේ මොකද්ද අර කියන්නේ සහයෝගයෙන් එකතු වෙනවා, සතුටෙන් එකතු වෙනවා, සතුටෙන් ඒ කරන සියල්ල ඩිස්කෂන්ස් ඒව ටික මේව කරන සතුටෙන් අපි එතනින් ඉවත් වෙනවා. හයි. ඔතකොට ඒ සතුට කියලා කියන්නේ මෙතන සතුට කියලා කියන්නේ කාම ලෝකෙට දැම්මොත් තමන්ගේ සතුට වෙන්නේ your happiness becomes let us say when you're praised for something, or when a question is seen as good, or ඔතකොට එක කාම භෝගී. අනිත් පැත්තෙන් අර ධර්ම සතුට වෙන්නේ මං හාපු ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන කෙනෙක් හාපු ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැත්නම් whatever, however the class is unfolding, right? Through one another we learn. We are an extension of experience. An extension of experience. So, with all of that, everyone, let us.
Bante, just one thing. So, Bante, when you're the way I understand it, Bante, now when you're talking and all the things you said, it's yes, the sound is less of whatever demarcating than the sight, but there's intrinsic to more. When you really want to be here, and
Yeah.
you're here present in the present moment, not a memory of being with you before what was seen.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
but when you it comes down to the way I can express, of course, I can't express it, is a vibration. Energetically, you're connected. And when,
Yes. Yeah.
but that is not to do a passion with, did I ask the right thing or did I say the wrong thing? It's this aha moment. It's not the doing, it's the seeing.
Yeah.
It just opens up and there's a
Yeah.
light there.
That is with the barrier or demarcation set by the five sense doors, it no more. Now there is connection.
That
Right?
and that
In the same manner, when there is lack of control, when there is lack of that self-view, pernicious erroneous, then there is lack of connection. When there is no such dhammas coming into the present, right? But how do you get to that level? You get to that level by acknowledging Upadriti Banga, let go, Upadriti Banga, let go, Upadriti Banga, let go. Do not be scared, because you will let go and let go and let go, everyone. I am telling you Buddha Dhamma Sangha again and again, again and again and again and again, because you're going to feel very alone without it. Right? Very alone, because letting go of self is such a difficult endeavor. We are here from the beginning of whatever time, and we've been traveling through this, and self is there, present.
But
Getting
Bhante, one moment, sorry, Bhante, Samavinda, in one moment of that connection that the light comes, it's profound. There's limitless and boundless. So in that fraction of a millimeter of a second, there's something that connects and you're never alone, Bhante. And once you've seen that once or second moment, you know that that's there, right? All the rest of the time, you're on this sansara, you're somebody thinks and I and me and they. But there are those lucid moments, and they don't come necessarily when you're sitting in a Dhamma class. They may be just in an ordinary situation, but when you're connected
Dil, from the position that you might be in, you might feel that you might never be alone. But let us not put aside, for example, Bhaya Jnana,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Bhaya Jnana in the Vipassana, right? After the Bhanga Jnana, when you're sprung through that rocky road of insight experience, when you experience the truest depth of dukkha, right, then you will not say that it is just down to the connection. The connection might be one part where you're in a state of being, but in discerning what you're observing, Dil, එතන ඊටත් වඩා පරාසයක් එතන තියෙනවා.
So much. You can have it, make it
ඊටත් වඩා
continue.
පරාසයක් එතන තියෙනවා. එතන තියෙන දුක, that dukkha that is experienced there can only be won over, right? Continue down to being with the Dhamma completely and 100%. Some people come out of that dukkha feeling a great sense of suffering and urgency, right? A great sense. Ekama anicca dukkha anattama balanna.
Mm. Thank
ඒකෙම
you.
අනිත්‍ය දුක්ඛ අනාත්ම බලන එක තමයි අපේ ශක්තිය. It is that resilience that we are building. Right. It is that resilience that we're building. We are practicing every day. We might practice looking forward to a challenging or looking forward to developing a certain sense of resilience to something that is going to come in the future. But in reality, up until you do not know what that moment is. That is the reality of it. Right? Regardless of age, regardless of whatever position, we do not know. Maranaya niyatai jiviti aniyatai. Huh? Death, life is uncertain. Death is certain. So embracing uncertainty is embracing the truest core and essence of what life is, which is truly dependent on so many conditions. Sankatai. When you understand the nature of these conditions, it's not, or it doesn't look like a knot anymore. අර ගැට ගාලා තියෙන්නේ නේද? ගැට ගාලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ ගැට ටික පේන්නේ නෑ. All right, everyone. I will leave you there. We've had a, I think, wonderful session today, being for us Sri Lankans the New Year. As every day, my blessings, not only for the New Year, but through the year, in the bad year, the New Year, the good year. Our blessings are with one another, I know. So maybe in this year, just for the sake of the Sammati, may we have all blessings. May we have strength. May we have sight and foresight in Dhamma to see deep into our lives, to look at things that are difficult to look at, and through the Dhamma, through the teachings of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, may we grow closer than ever before to this Dhamma, accepting to the fullest that Dhamma can flow and can be an embodiment and is, could be, and hopefully will be the embodiment of our mind and bodies. in the practice as we walk on this journey together. So let us also make it a point to remember our parents and our friends and family through the years, our companions, our partners, our friends, and share all of the merits that we develop so fortunately. Every single day, I think all of you do linger on some bit of Dhamma, isn't it? Every single day. And that, I think, is a blessing. With all of these merits, may we share all of these blessings and merits with all of our departed relatives, our parents, everyone who has been a condition in some way or the other, known and unknown ways as well, that we've come here with the Dhamma. Not regarding how it would be if it would have been this way or that way, no, but in complete acceptance. May all beings be well and happy, and may everyone, people who are close and far, may all beings develop towards sight, wisdom, leading towards enlightenment. Akasattha ca bhummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu sasanam. Akasattha ca bhummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu devatam. Akasattha ca bhummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu tvam sadati. Idammi jnati
Sadhu,
nango
sadhu.
sukita hontu jnatayo. Idammi jnati nango sukita hontu jnatayo. Idammi jnati nango sukita hontu jnatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Teruvan
Teruvan
saranai, Bante.
saranai.